What is going on, everybody? Today is pretty much the mini bike vlog on what we're going to be doing as far as getting the 301 and as far as how it's going to be when it comes down to the build. It's not going to be any kind of major modifications. It's not going to be any kind of um, upgrades, I would say. Uh, it's just going to be a basic, because I just seen a video of a guy on here on YouTube that actually did a build. It was, and mind you, this to me it was new. For you guys, it probably was old, um, give or take a few. I would have to say that the 301 versus the new upcoming 224. Okay, now my opinion, I don't know if it's true or not. Okay, don't hold me to this. But I heard through the grapevine that the reason why they're coming out with a new motor is because of the sale drop that it happened with on having to honor the coupon that came out a couple years ago, which was the $100 sale where everybody ran to Harbor Freights and grabbed a Predator 212, Hemi or non-Hemi. It didn't make a difference, but the company supposedly lost a lot of money, so in turn causing them to end up discontinuing by the end of this year. And that is true that the end of this year, the 212s will be discontinued. Well, they won't be discontinued, but they'll pretty much be replaced. All right. It's said by one of the corporate people that work for Harbor Freights. All right, I'm sorry, that works for, I guess, as a spokesperson for Predator. Um, that they are not discontinuing the Predator 212. Now, if you're going to come out with a new motor, you might not still be making the same exact model that you previously made if you're making a upgraded version. Now, this is supposed to be 6.6 horsepower. I don't know. I think it's like 3,500 RPMs out the box. Max performance. I don't know how true all of that is, because if you really look at it, when the motor comes out, we're all going to try it as being factory stock first. Of course, we're not going to probably end up even putting an exhaust port on it, let alone a aftermarket air filter or even carburetor. But most people tend to change the setup on the engine. It's supposed to be red, black, and I think gold. Some trimming of gold in it. So I don't know how soon it's going to be released, but it's going to be released probably most likely at the beginning of next year. But if it does, you're going to end up doing the same thing you already did to the motor you probably added on, which is add the billet rod, billet flywheel, all the parts. The 301 still the same, but still a little bit more expensive when you go to the aftermarket parts section. Um, a billet flywheel for that engine alone cost almost $200. Now, if you look at when that new engine comes out, I don't think they're going to have parts already, unless they, I mean, it would be kind of shocking. Like I'm hearing several. I'm hearing that it's not out yet. Because the post that I'm constantly seeing floating on Facebook and floating through the Predator group is Predator coming soon, and you just see a picture of the engine. We don't know the release dates. That's all the information they are releasing right now as we speak. So keep in mind, like I said, if you're going to do the engine swap with getting a 301 versus the new Max Performance engine that they got coming out, I mean, I would say if I had the opportunity, which is having another build and willing to do it, I would actually probably try the motor out. But I have right now, with including the 301, I have a total of 5 motors. It's not really for me just right now, and I don't really see me ever really thinking that it's going to be any more major difference than a regular 212 Predator, because I mean everybody's going to have their opinion about it. All right, whether the company may understand it or not, whether it may be good. Of course, they want to hear good opinions, but people are going to have negative opinions as well about the engine once they get their hands on one and start riding around, putting it on whatever project. They'll say probably it's good for more of a go kart. than it is for a mini bike, or it might be more better for a trike than it is for a dirt bike, a pit bike. I'm sorry, along those lines. I'm going with the 301 because they're already out. We already know what they're about. Um, these are engines that are already been well established when it comes down to parts, aftermarket or factory. I guess whatever the build you decide to do, because all I'm doing is just a upgraded engine on my Baja Warrior, so that wouldn't be any like major ordeal. I just wanted to get that bike. I wanted to have at least one of my bikes closest to a motorcycle as possible, without still having that, just having a motorcycle look, but still maintaining the mini bike authenticity. Okay, Baja Warriors, hands down, I have to say, are my top number one when it comes on my mini bike list. The reason why is because they're not. I'm sorry to say this, but not the new updated versions of the Baja Warrior. All right, I'm talking about the older versions, the ones that they don't make anymore. All right, the ones with the fenders are not made with some kind of plastic. All right, some kind of the same exact kind of plastic that they use on a car. All right, similar to it, but some kind of crappy Chinese plastic, um, versus the old steel, metal fenders. That's the one I have. The one that has the old metal fenders. All right, still has the factory headlight on it. Um, it still works as well. The bulb in it still even works. Um, I would love to just keep that same headlight setup because using that engine, I don't plan on wiring the headlight to the engine like the ignition core. I hate that whole. I think that setup is extremely tacky and cheap. Not it's just not for me. All right, I'll put it to you that way. I would rather just take a drill battery. I have toggle switches as well. We have the fuel line for the Baja Warrior, which is sitting right here. Um, we're going to probably end up going with a monkey style gas tank for the El Chapo. If not, like I said, we're going to take the original gas tank that's on there, put that at the top, and just remount it. So that way we could try to make the fairing work where the gas tank cap is running straight through the top, through the whole. It's I think it's a fairing off of a Cat Eye or X1. I don't know, but there's some pieces on that bike that I know for sure came off of another bike, like, and it's a custom built chopper. Okay, it's like literally not saying it's like one of them ones you never seen before, because I'm about to let you know right now. I love my bikes. My bikes are built specifically for me. It's not, but if I had to do a comparison, like my wife said, in order for you to get into a show, you got to have a bike that's really worthy of it. And I can tell you right now, none of my bikes are really worthy of showmanship. Because if you were to take every single person, like I seen a bike at a show that literally had air brakes. I'm sorry, had some kind of system where it was like a low rider or something. You hit a button, the bike rise up, and then you hit a button, the bike goes down. It relieves pressure. Some kind of hydraulic lift or something that was built into it. But it was pretty cool. I thought, to myself. But with that new engine, right? Back to that. I don't really see it me ever really buying it because, like I said, it's. I mean, it's like they were saying it's a pretty much. I would honestly say it looked like it's a clone version of a Tillotson. All right, just a cheaper version of a Tillotson made for a person that really can't afford an actual Tillotson. It's no more different than saying if you look at the price of a Honda GX200, they're valued factory stock on Amazon for $600. Anybody look it up? I'm telling you right now. I'll wait. Now you see, with that price being that way, right? Now you take the Honda Block. All right, when I bought a Honda Block for a steel price. Um, it was running when I got it, but then it had some malfunctions with the stud bolt getting stuck into the carburetor valve spring, and it didn't damage the valve. I just think I just replaced the head all its entirety. Has brand new carburetor spring, brand new carburetor valve, the whole nine, everything that's needed, to be able to have a fully factory stock running engine. Um, at first, I was going to go overload with building it, and it wasn't going to be a lot of money. It was going to still be a budget build, right? But I thought that it was going to be more of a suicide build because I did a build like that when I did some little internal parts on the engine, and that was the first time I ever bought an engine. Okay, and that was the last time I ever sit up there and try doing something stupid because I'm gonna let you know right now they don't tell you this. Okay, when you first get into the mini bike scene, I'm gonna make you all aware of it. All right, just like with a 301. When I bought my first 212 Hemi, right, I didn't even know the difference between a Hemi and non-Hemi. Hemi to me said power, so I was like, okay, cool. I want, of course, you want to go with the power. I went with the Hemi, got it. Brought it back home, put it on a Diablo chopper. All right, mind you, if anybody is aware of a Diablo chopper, look those up. Okay, they were pretty sick choppers. I ended up scoring one. I had to use the engine on it. I think it was a Hemi. I don't know if it was a Hemi or non-Hemi, but I took the old block off. It didn't even have a shroud cover, let alone pull solder for the old engine. So I took that old engine off, but I did take off the header pipe that was on the engine. Oh, once I took that off, I put that on the new engine. Okay, I didn't even put an aftermarket air filter on this thing yet because I didn't know nothing about those. I just got into. This was more like a assembly phase. I'm really not even into the building phase yet because what all I've been really doing is like fabrication and gearing and stuff like that. I hadn't really got into the internal part of the engine as far as like right now, currently the cylinder head. All right. The Honda block, at some point I will be putting, bigger parts and aftermarket parts into the motor, but that's going to be probably maybe a year down the line. I want to at least see what the bike is going to run like without it. All right. Just all factory stock, see how it responds. All right, and then go from there. All right, and plus, it's like I said, I'm not investing a whole mess load. I only do budget bills. I don't do no drag racing. I don't do no even street racing. All right, all my bikes are just cruisers, kick it around, get them to the point where I want them at. Like all my Hemi engines are technically where I want them. I don't ever plan on putting any aftermarket parts into my Hemi engines. Besides, like I put a bigger jet in there, but that was about it. All stage ones, um, as well as the Honda block is going to be starting off as a stage one. The 301 stage one, maybe, well, most likely bypass governor. So we'll see. When we go from getting the engine, we gonna have to break it in properly. Technically speaking, you're supposed to run the engine off of the bike. All right. That I don't. Everybody has their own personal way on how they break in their engines, and that's cool. All right, if you hadn't ruined the engine so far, keep on doing what it is you're doing, because obviously you doing something right. But the manual normally says you're supposed to run the engine for at least I think 2 hours. So to make a long story short, when I get the 301, this will be the first time I ever break an engine in like this. We're going to uh, take off the factory stock header pipe. We're going to be taking off the gas tank. We're going to be taking off the factory stock air box. We're only going to keep the carburetor on there. We're going to be putting a bigger jet into the carburetor that we already have. Um, we'll be ordering a new header, a torque converter, a aftermarket air filter for the engine. We already have a gas tank because I'm making one. And like I said, this right here is the new petcock for that gas tank that I'm making that I ordered. And I got like mass parts, like my wife could tell you that laying around this house. Bolts, fuel filters, and toggle switches. I mean, I keep parts all around my house, like not crazily, like not insanely crazy. I even got a tire sign. Get yourself some of this. It always comes in handy. All right. It saves a life when you having to change the tire out because of a stupid slow leak. All right. I'm gonna let you know right now. There is no point of changing a tire that has probably about 75% tread left on it. So you basically, and you probably only ride your bike maybe once every other weekend. All right, I would love to take my bikes out in the snow, but I mean, I know for sure X15 will not hold up in the snow. My Baja Warrior would definitely hold up in the snow, and El Chapo probably will definitely hold up in the snow with the back tire. All right, but you talking about pulling? I mean, right now I technically have 5 bikes. All right, five. You might as well say because I'm about to go get the other motor this Thursday. Um, the 301. So technically, I will have 5 bikes all in where 3 of them are assembled and running right now. The Baja Warrior, the El Chapo, which is a custom built chopper. I will be changing his wheel out. I decided with that because it will give him a better look. I'm going to put an X1 front wheel on him. Uh, at some point, we're going to figure out how to use that 10-inch back wheel, chopper wheel that I have, and we're going to try to use that on that bike as well. Uh, El Chapo is in a phase. He's going to get a whole makeover as well, but he's not getting an engine upgrade. It's going to stay at 212 Hemi. Um, stage 1 as well. He will be getting a torque converter and a racing chain. I won't say that I would really be messing with the gearing on the sprockets. And the main reason is like the guy said in his video, I will say the exact same thing. Quote, he got his bikes to where they're satisfactory. And that's exactly how I want all mine to be. To where I already rode the X15. I just never rode it with a torque converter yet. So once I put that torque converter on there, when I ride it, I'll see how it feels only with just the stage 1. I don't really plan on upgrading the you know parts in it because, like I said, I mean it's already satisfactory to me. If anything, I might put some bigger valve springs in there, but that'll be probably about it in each of the Hemis. But the Hondas, I noticed with the non-Hemis, they always people say the non-Hemis you can do more to, but in other terms, it really feels like the non-Hemis you got to do a lot of work to them to get them to respond like a Hemi. All right, I don't understand why that's that way. Um, so that pretty much gives me the whole opinion about that whole new engine that's coming out. Which how well will it do? How many people will can actually really actually love that engine? I know it's going to probably be a lot, but you got a lot of us, man, that pretty much buy the engines just to pretty much rebuild it, and that's cool. I just don't know if they made a lot of aftermarket parts for that engine yet, and if it is out, it's probably not out down this section of the United States. It's probably out in other states. You know, as we speak, I don't know, but we'll find out. But as far as I'm concerned, it really doesn't matter either way. So I'm getting at the real one, and then that'll be it for motors. I already, like I said, I still have technically an X1 frame. I don't really plan on doing anything with that anytime soon. I have a roller frame. All right, it's a complete X1. Not complete. What I mean by complete is complete enough to put an engine on it, and uh, yeah, just throw an engine on it and throttle and put a seat, and you got a running bike. But I don't think I really ever plan on building that into anything anytime soon. That would have to be a project that just like, okay, you know what? I finished every last one of my bikes. I got them all painted and pretty, looking and dabbed all up and customized lights, everything already done. So that pretty much would leave it where I don't have anything else left to build. So maybe I may build it and I don't know, try to find some fairing, some X1 fairing from somebody. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see that thing getting built no time soon. Because the two-stroke engines are, and I know that's completely off the topic of the video, but two-stroke engines are literally the most finicky style engines ever made. All right, I'm talking about the moment something in that engine goes up. Not about the carburetor. Now the carburetor is a whole separate issue. You just replace it. But I noticed with those engines, and I own a couple of them now, to the point where I did not like those things. They are literally the most poorly made, like poorly constructed engines ever, and you can't really do too many like you can do aftermarket parts to it, but like, come on now, like, how limited are you really going to be to the point where you just say, you know what, you might as well just go ahead and buy a fully automatic engine, and you could do more parts, and literally all the performance parts and all the performance work you put into that engine, it will show. With these two-stroke engines, I'm talking about like the weed eater. I ain't talking about like the KX like a KX1 KT100. All right, KT100. That's a little powerful ass engine. Don't get it twisted. That thing look, it's a horizontal shaft engine. All right, and I seen it on cars and cameras. I thought this engine was like a little pump. You know, I thought the engine was like a little sissy. Like, come on now, dude. You gonna really think you're gonna put that on the bike and you're gonna be like Ricky Bobby and go fast? Let's see. You put that thing on that bike. Started it with a jump box. And man, literally made me speechless. All right, don't get it twisted. But some of these, I had an old school motor. I don't even remember what the hell it was, but my wife and my kids could tell you. When I had that bike was so terribly fast. It was an old school, I think it was a Bonanza, right? Old school. I'm not really into the old school scene, and I like to look at it. I don't like really to own old school bikes. I'm talking about old school, like 1970, or if I do own something in that line, it would probably have to be like a little Z50. It would have to be a Z50, if not a Z50, one of the little Indians. Other than that, I'm not really the one that to get into that scene, because you're looking at one, they don't make the parts, and 9 times out of 10, if you want to still maintain the value of that bike, you got to put the OEM parts back on it, and you got to hope that you can be able to find whatever part it is that that bike needs, and it takes a lot of maintenance. I mean, terrible. I cannot see myself, ever trying to get into that scene where I would love to collect them, maybe like little, like what they call them, the little ornaments, mini bike ornaments of old school mini bikes. I would collect and keep them on my shelf, but I barely even sit up there and take care of cleaning up my shop. So, which actually, when we get the 301, hopefully the snow is already melted by this Saturday. We can go ahead and take all of that stuff out the shop and get it cleaned up and straightened up. We got to get a toolbox or a shelf or something. Um, I don't really have the capability of, what I mean by capability is I could build one, but it's going to cost a little bit more what I expected. So I don't want to really put that kind of money into something that's going to be extremely expensive. That's it, yeah.